Good evening, everybody, and welcome to special Mother's Day edition of Sunday Night Football with Bengal Jim and Friends. Show by the fans, for the fans. We're absolutely excited tonight with a couple great guests lined up and a hour packed full of good things to talk about and be interactive with. So let me run down the lineup for you guys tonight, and we'll go from there. So about 8:05-ish, we have Jeff Blake coming on. Very excited about Jeff. Jeff is the one who personally got me through the 90s, the decade of the 90s. So real excited about having Jeff here with us. About 8:20-ish, we have Bengal legend, all-time leading scorer Jim Breech coming on. We have another fan of the week. This week we'll be talking to Tom Justin. We'll hit another history segment, Bengals 101 history. We'll do. We got a great question of the week. We're going to need your engagement and some interaction with, and then we'll close it out around 9 o'clock, guys. So a lot of good stuff. And on the screen, as you see here, we've got down at the bottom here with looks like the old school Jeff Blake jersey on is James from Brownsburg, Indiana. And we got our guy, our Canuck up here, Jamie from. I think he's kind of close to a place called Bob Cajun, Canada. Very close. So every week I get where he's at incorrect, but he's really from Brantford, Ontario. Jamie Stevens. So guys, just real quick, what are you guys excited about the show tonight?
Very excited. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. And thank you, Jimmy, for lining up another great episode of two strong guests. As you mentioned, Jeff Shaken Blake and Jim Breech going to join us. And looking forward to another fun show. To add to what Jimmy said, remember, this is going to be 100% interactive. Feel free to type in your questions that you may have for any of the guests. We will have the question of the night towards the end of the show, and then to the fan of the week. So if you have somebody you want to nominate for that, let us know. If you have a guest you want to see, we'll do our best to make that happen. And again, this is for you, the fans, and we appreciate you joining us. If you can't make it, these are all saved on the various social media platforms, so you can go back and check it out. And I'm going to turn it over to our neighbor to the north, Mr. Jamie, our executive producer.
Hey, listen, I'm glad you guys got the maps I sent you of Ontario, Canada. It's good. You're getting closer every time. I love it. No, I'm excited, guys. Obviously, today's Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, my fiance included, and my stepdaughter. And then, of course, it's my fiance's birthday today as well. So it's been an expensive day for me. And also another special birthday today. I should put up on the screen here. Happy birthday, Coach Taylor. Coach Zach Taylor today. Won't say how old he is because it makes us all feel old, but the leader of men, it's his birthday today as well. So another special day.
Hey, before we have, I'm not sure if Jeff's logged in yet, but
not yet.
Not yet. We got to give him a couple more minutes here, but real quick, the folks that are watching right now, just type in what year do you think Zach Taylor was born? I would have never guessed it. It just makes me feel really old. So give us the year. What year was Zach Taylor born? So type that in and see who gets that right first. I would have never guessed it. I looked at him like, gosh, I was like in middle school when Zach Taylor was born. So
it definitely makes us feel old.
All right, we've already got one there.
We've got a couple guests here, so
go ahead and read them off.
Steve and Jeff Nagel, 1985.
Our fans of the week last week. Thanks for tuning in.
Sam Gormley says 1983. Jacoby, 1985. Brian, 98. We got a 78 in here somewhere. Wow, they're coming in really fast here, guys. I can't keep up. 85, 87.
We got a couple of them right on there.
A couple 83s. Yeah? You got the right answer?
83 is the right answer. 83 is the right answer.
83 is the right answer. So from what I can see, Sam Gormley says 1983 first with a question mark.
Sam, congrats.
Congratulations.
Somebody said 1998.
Someone said 98. Yeah, Brian Bush said 98.
Damn it, Brian, you're making me feel really old if that was the case.
Pretty young coach, 98. Yeah.
It's all right. Youngest.
So did you guys enjoy the Mother's Day today? Did
It
you
was good. Good.
spoil your other halves, your better halves?
Yep. We went out and walked in between a hailstorm here earlier today. We got a hailstorm in Cincinnati, so raining and hailing, and it was also my oldest son's birthday a couple days ago, so we celebrated that all today. So it was a good day. Good day.
Good day, and it was a good week. Hopefully, when the dust settles with everything with the virus, the schedule was released. We'll talk about that a little bit later on Thursday night, which I thought was a pretty cool touch with the cigars and tying into Joe Burrow and his whole smoking the cigar after the LSU championship. That was pretty well done by the Bengals, how they laid that out.
Yeah, Jimmy and I were
Yeah.
just talking about that. It's they've really stepped it up this year. Like it's man, when he's smoking the cigar and then doing all the cigars with the logos on them, that blew me out of the water. That was crazy.
Let's talk about the Bengals social media this year. What is going on? They're killing it. This might be one of the best NFL social media teams I've seen. Well, this year by far, I think. So they've made some changes down there, not just on the field and off season, but on the field they've made some changes in that office as well with some of the folks that are doing some of the social media. They're killing it.
Did you guys watch the official Bengals schedule release party? Well,
Yes.
I mean the live stream with Marissa, Dan, and Chad. So it was funny. I was watching and I happened to notice that Chad Johnson was playing FIFA. I know he's a big, really competitive FIFA player, but he was playing during the live stream. I thought that was pretty funny. And every time they'd go to him, he'd pause it and take the question. But it was pretty funny. So we're still waiting for Jeff Blake to log on here, guys. But we got some people in the chat here. We got Kyle Parker on YouTube says y'all should have seen the argument I got into with this Dallas Cowboys fan today. I can imagine an argument about the role Andy Dalton's going to play. Kyle, if you want to share in the chat a little bit more on that argument you got into, I'd love to hear about it. We got Fred saying, "Hey guys, who dey baby?" Malcolm, we agree. Obviously, we're talking about this. Bengals social media has been absolutely awesome this offseason.
Hey, one thing we can touch on, Jamie, did you get the picture of the gentleman who won the Burrow jersey? Do we have that to share?
I did, but I didn't have it queued up. But you know what? I will get it. Just give me 1 second.
If we go back to our first show Thursday night of the NFL draft, our friends at Cook Sporting Goods were generous enough to give us a Joe Burrow jersey, and we had one lucky person.
Joe Cook, I believe. Joe Cook.
Yep.
Jungle
Joe.
So he got it, and he sent us a picture modeling it with his jersey on, his mask on, koozie, I think. So we have a picture.
Actually, we have a couple pictures of some winners I'll put up as well. So just give me 1 minute on that.
No problem. So, and then I think we also saw some pictures of the other inflatables that were given away on Thursday night. So fans are starting to get those, and then we also had some winners from last week's show. So we'll continue to do the prizes as we get them in and pass them on. And we appreciate everyone being interactive in that. And again, for Cook Sporting Goods for giving the Joe Burrow
on paper.
There's the picture of
Jungle Joe.
Jungle Joe in the Burrow jersey. And I've also got another. We had, let me just make sure I get the name right here. Don won
one of the inflatables.
Inflatable helmet, and of course the infamous Bengal Jim koozie there as well. So there's Don with that. So yeah, that was fun. I mean, that draft party that we had, that was we had a lot of eyeballs on us that night, and we had some prizes. Of course, the Joe Burrow jersey being the #1 prize. That was the big one, and Jungle Joe won that one. So we are still waiting. We're just waiting.
So if you see my head down, I am absolutely looking at my phone. So I just got a message from Blake. He is dialing in now. So he's been retweeting some things on Twitter and some other social media. So he's been really good about getting the word out on his social media platform. So I'm letting him know right now.
Yeah, so we've been super excited about having him on. I know.
Hey guys, get
Jim.
your questions. Yeah, I'm Jeff, dude. Hey, just don't laugh at me. I got my Jeff Blake. Oh, I got Jeff Blake. Got my Jeff Blake Underoos.
So speaking of the Bengals social media guys, Jack Burnside says, "Hey Jim, give a shout out to Mina Creamer, the graphic art designer they hired this year. She's doing awesome work."
I met her. She's awesome. She actually, I'm pretty sure she kind of walked around Lottie and came down to see us this past year in the parking lot in the tailgate. So yeah, they have
All right,
done
guys.
just outstanding.
Without
job.
further ado, Jimmy, I don't mean to cut you off, but I know you're
Sorry.
excited to bring Jeff Blake on, so we're going to bring him onto the stream here. And there we go.
Shaking Blake,
Hey,
man.
fellas,
What's
how
going
you
on,
doing?
bro?
Hello,
Good, bro.
Man, I tell you, I've been out training quarterbacks all day, so.
That's all right. That's enough. We appreciate you taking a few minutes with us, Jeff. We're pretty
Yeah,
excited,
no
man.
problem.
I just
No
want to let you
problem.
know, man. If it wasn't for you, I couldn't have got through the '90s watching Bengals football, brother. So thank you for everything you
Well,
did, man.
I appreciate the love, man. I appreciate the fact that you guys recognize the fact that we did the best we could under the circumstances.
Yes, sir.
And we didn't win a lot of games, but we had a lot of fun. I can tell you that.
Yep. Well, let me give just a little intro here, and I got a video I want to show you, Jeff, in a minute here. So, obviously, you were drafted by the Jets in '92, and I think Bruce Coslet was the
Yes.
coach for the Jets. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You played.
Yes, sir.
You played for the Bengals from '94 to '99. You went to the Pro Bowl in '95. You have a Pro Bowl record of the longest TD thrown in the Pro Bowl history at 92 yards. Unfortunately, you just had to throw it to a Steeler, though. That's all right. And then, and then you have all kinds. You're in the top, upper echelon in the Bengals record books, man. Kind of looking at all this stuff. Games played. You're in top 5 of games played as quarterback, 75 games. Passing yards over 15,000. Touchdowns 93. And you're third in Bengals history, over 50 years of history. And Jeff Blake is third in the history book for the Bengals for touchdown interception ratio. So it's awesome stuff. So I've got a quick video. I got a quick video, Jeff, and this is your first game against Dallas. So we're going to show a quick little clip here if you're okay with that.
Okay, I'm great with it.
Cowboys, Cincinnati penciled in a seldom-used third stringer named Jeff Blake to run the offense. And that's when it happened. Suddenly, balls that would have been dropped earlier in the season were being caught. The once dormant Cincinnati attack was now very much awake. Spurred on by the quarterback everyone had almost given up on, the Bengals ambushed the Cowboys as Blake parlayed his inaugural effort into an offensive revolution. On first down, Pickens split far side. Scott nearest to us, and Blake has the ball back to throw. Going deep, down the middle of the field. He wants Scott. He's got him. Yes! Scott is going to go all the way for the touchdown. Donnie Scott.
Jeff, I got goosebumps watching that, buddy. That's awesome. So talk about that game. That was the start. That was the start of the Bengals catching lightning in a bottle with little-known third-string quarterback Jeff Blake, who finally got the opportunity and took advantage of it. But talk about that game and your excitement and your first start going into the game. Hell, they had Klingler and I think Don Hollis. So these guys got hurt, and that's the only reason you got your opportunity.
Don Hollis. That's the only. I got my opportunity to play. We had played the Cleveland Browns the week before that Dallas Cowboy game, and both of those guys went down. And Bruce came to me after the game. Well, actually, I came in at the end of the Browns game, and after the game, he told me, "You probably have to go next week, so make sure you were ready." And so Bruce knew what I was good at. He knew exactly what the game plan was going to be. He wanted to move me around a little bit, get me moving in the pocket, and let me throw the ball down the field to try to open up our running game. So that was the game plan for that game, and we executed it pretty good, for the first time out as a unit. And so it was very exciting. Actually, my brother-in-law was playing with the Cowboys at the time. And he tried to tell them that I could play, and they didn't want to hear it. This is Bengals, dude. We good. So we we came out and jumped on them real fast, and they went this halftime and regrouped, and they wound up, I think, beating us by 3 points or something like that, I think.
Yep.
And but that was our first outing, and it was very fun for me and exciting. It was just exciting for me just to get a chance to get back on the football field again and play.
Yeah, I mean, I was at that game with my son, and we sat near your family in the old section down the blue seats at Paul Brown Stadium, and it was electric, man. It was fun. So that was week 9. Almost knocked off the Super Bowl champion Cowboys. Threw for almost 300 yards that game. In week 10, you guys went up to Seattle and you threw for almost 400 yards, and we beat Seattle in overtime. And Jeff Blake and the Bengals come back to Cincinnati week 11, full blown Blake mania. I mean, you couldn't find a Jeff Blake jersey anywhere. It was sold out all over town. The Shake and Blake, Leslie Isaiah game, the Shake and Blake that I posted on some of our social media, it was out of control. And Jeff, you got an opportunity to do a Sports Illustrated shoot. You're on covers of like TV guides, and I mean, you're on covers of schedules. It was crazy. It went from 0 to 100 in a short period of time. Man, what do you remember about that?
Real fast. Well, I remember being in front of a lot of media, which I was okay with, but I still didn't think I had arrived yet. I still think I had a lot to prove as a player myself, and I try not to get caught up in all the hoopla and all the excitement. You can't let it get to your head. You got to stay focused. And my goal was to stay focused and keep playing football, because I knew all that could be taken away quickly if I didn't go out and perform. If we didn't go out and perform week in and week out, especially at that time, because it was halfway through the season, so a lot of people weren't kind of happy with how the season was going. So, but we decided to go out and just let the chips fall where they may, and go out and just have fun and just play.
Good. So we've got a lot of questions on here right now. So I could be asking you questions all night, Jeff. So we're going to let some of our viewers right now ask some questions. Jamie, you want to go ahead and fire some of them out to Jeff?
Sure, Jeff. Just a couple of questions for you here. So we have Chris asking, Jeff, what's your take on the Bengals draft this year? Any guess for wins and losses this season?
I think they had a great draft pick. You can't never go wrong with a quarterback like Joe Burrow. I like the kid. He's kind of feisty. He has the chip on his shoulder. It looks like he's not going to take any crap from anybody, which that's what he needs to have to play in Cincinnati. For his wins or losses, I mean, it's tough to win in Cincinnati, especially consistently. But we have yet to have at least that one Cinderella season, to make everybody happy. Every dog has his day of his year sooner or later. So I'm hoping we can at least get a Cinderella season and then turn some things around.
Another question, Jeff, before we go back to Jamie. Darnay Scott and Carl Pickens were two of your weapons at wide receiver. Carl Pickens maybe has a bad
hear me?
With
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay, Jeff?
Any other questions?
Go ahead, Jamie. Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So Steve Nagel asks, who's your favorite teammate on the Bengals? Or who was your favorite teammate?
Eric Bieniemy and Darnay Scott.
Yeah, I can see that. So Jeff, I'm gonna get into a couple more minutes, man. Thanks for taking time with us. But so here's what's crazy to me, man. My son played college football. Kind of seeing how this all works. But you set all kinds of records in high school as a quarterback, and when it comes time to go to college,
Yes,
you didn't get a whole lot of offers to play quarterback. You got offers from, I think, Miami, Florida State as a receiver, but East Carolina is the only school that offered you, or one of the few schools that offer you the quarterback position. I think it's still something we're dealing with today. But back in the late '80s and early '90s, black quarterbacks just wasn't something a lot of coaches wanted to go down that road with. So talk about that, the challenges you had around that personally.
Well, East Carolina was the only Division I school to recruit me to play quarterback. That's crazy, right? So, but all I did was throw the football. Only position I ever played in my life was quarterback, and I knew given the opportunity that I could make it happen. And East Carolina gave me that opportunity. Yes, it was tough, but another reason I went to East Carolina, a lot of people don't know this. East Carolina has always had a history of having black quarterbacks. So I felt comfortable going there, and I felt comfortable that I would get an opportunity going there. East Carolina had a black quarterback there in the 70s. When I got there, they had a black quarterback by the name of Travis Hunter. I went there. Marcus Crandall went there. David Garrard went there. So they just got a history of having guys come through, and they were used. And I felt like that was some place I would actually get an opportunity. So I didn't feel the pressure as much of being a black quarterback at East Carolina. They were used to seeing that, and they're used to having that in their environment. So that didn't bother me at all at East Carolina. I felt very comfortable playing there. So at that point, once I got to East Carolina, all I needed was an opportunity. Got the opportunity in my sophomore year, started my junior year, and we felt like we were on the verge of being very successful at that time. And came in our senior year, we got rid of a lot of the guys that didn't want to work, that weren't going to put in the extra time, that were always complaining about meetings or complaining about working out. Those guys were gone. We were seniors. It was our team. We pushed each other. We worked hard, and we won 11 games in a row. Won 11-1, finished number 9 in the nation. So that was very fun for me my senior year, and we finished and capped it off with a Peach Bowl win against NC State.
That's awesome. Jeff, listen, we appreciate you being on here. We want to be respectful of your time. Just 2 more quick questions for you. A couple people in the chat were asking, what was it like playing with Carl Pickens, and what was your relationship with Carl like?
I had a great relationship with Carl. Carl got along with pretty much everybody. He was crazy, man. He was very funny. He was very comical. He was the one that we get on the bus, and he would grab the mic on the bus from the bus driver and start telling jokes. And he would tell jokes about people on the bus, other players. So he was very fun, man. He was very fun. I had a great relationship with Carl. We hung out with him a lot. We'd go over his house a lot and hang out. But yeah, I had a great relationship. We had really good chemistry with each other when it came to playing, and that's the most important part.
Cool. I'm sure this has been asked to you before. Jeff or Joe in our chat says, "Hey Jeff, are you and Darius Rucker's brothers?" I'm sure you've been asked that a couple times before. There's a little bit of similarities there.
Darius Rucker, the country singer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, me and Darius are not brothers, but I definitely know Darius though. We definitely have a close mutual friend as well. So, but definitely,
that's awesome.
Actually, I know 2 people that are very close to Derek that I know personally as well. So, and Derek, and I met Derek a long time ago because, believe it or not, I met Darius a long time ago because he's from South Carolina. He went to the University of South Carolina. I don't know if you know this, and they started Hootie and Blowfish back when I was in college, and they used to come through Greenville and play at the little bars in Greenville back in the day when they would leave Columbia and they would go around the little college scenes. And so I met him a long time ago. It's crazy.
That's funny.
Well, Jeff, man, we could go on all night. I know you're sitting in the car probably waiting to get home, man. We wanted to get in to talk about your training and everything, but we're going to kind of put some links up on our social media so people can check out what you're doing. Man, it means a lot. Thanks so much for coming on.
Okay.
And, Bengal legend, man. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for having me on. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Who day?
How about that?
Was I being too
that was
greedy?
cool.
Was I being too greedy with the questions? My bad, guys.
We didn't want to take up all of his time. I had to put the Darius Rucker question in there because it was funny when I saw that come up. I'm like, wow, they actually do look alike, and then sure enough, they have a relationship and are friends. That's hilarious.
That's pretty cool.
That's
That is pretty cool.
Also cool is to hear the other side of the Carl Pickens deal. We know he got a bad rap a lot with the Bengals, and obviously he was one of the weapons that Jeff threw to along with Darnay and some of the others on that team. So good to hear Carl, good guy behind the scenes.
That was great. Thanks a lot for all the questions in the chat, guys. That was great.
Yeah,
That's exactly what we want. We want you guys, the fans, asking questions.
Yeah, sorry we didn't get to them all, man, but that was great. That was really cool, man. He's a Bengal legend. I think, the situation where he said, hey, it's hard to win in Cincinnati consistently. I think during his time when he was here in the 90s, I would absolutely 100% agree with that. Again, I think there's a different culture and a different situation here now that, he's not engulfed in and living day to day. So Breech has not dialed in yet. Do you know?
Yeah, he is. He's here. Yep.
Let's go ahead and bring on yet another Bengal legend tonight. Let's go ahead and bring on Jim, if you're okay, Jamie.
There we go.
Jim Breech,
Hey,
how you
guys.
doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Welcome, man. Welcome. Thanks for coming on. Happy Mother's Day. I hope you guys had a good day so far.
We've had a nice day. I wish the weather would break a little bit so we'd have some consistency, but it is what it is, right?
We got you, man. Well, we'll be respectful of your time. So Jim Breech, the all-time leading scorer in Bengals history, 1,151 points. A stat I didn't know, Jim, that you're a perfect 9 for 9 in overtime and field goals, which is not just a Bengal record, but that's an NFL record, which is awesome. I didn't know that. So Jim was drafted in 1978 in the 8th round by the Lions. Cut before the season, went to the Raiders for the 79 season, then cut in the preseason to make room in 1980 to make room for Chris Barr, who played for the Bengals. Bengals cut, released him, and the Raiders picked him up. And then, Jim, if you could get in and kind of talk about what happened. You almost went to a different city to play football versus going from the Raiders to Cincinnati. What was that situation?
Yeah, well, one, losing my job to Chris Barr, that I end up here was kind of interesting for both of us really well. As far as coming to Cincinnati, I was working at a paper company, Clear Paper Company in Emeryville, California, close to where I went to school at Cal Berkeley. And I got a call, and it was the Cleveland Browns. This was 1980, the Cardiac Kids, Brian Sipe, the unbelievable group that they had. So I get this call, and it's Paul Warfield. He says, hey, our kicker, Don Cockcroft's got some back and knee problems. So just be ready. We're going to fly in over the weekend, and then, we'll look from there. So anyway, I come Sunday, and I see Cockcroft kicked. And Monday, late afternoon, I get a phone call. Actually, my supervisor comes in and goes, hey, Breech, there's some team on the phone. So I'm thinking it's the Browns that they don't need a kicker since they didn't fly me in. And I get on the phone, and it's the Bengals. It's Frank Smouse. He said, Jim, we'd like to have you come out and work out for our team. And I thought, what the heck? It's not Cincinnati going to play or Cleveland going to the playoffs, but it's Cincinnati, and it's a job, and let's go for it. So of course, there's only 32 of them. So I took the first opportunity that I had, jumped on the plane, got to Cincinnati, and here I am almost 40 years later, still in Cincinnati, loving it.
It's awesome. So I'm only going to ask you one more question because we got a boatload of questions kind of popping up right now. But so all these questions I wanted to ask you, the one that just kind of made me kind of laugh a little bit was 1990. The Bengals were playing the Oilers. We're up 58-7 late in the fourth quarter. 25 seconds left, and Sam White sends Jim Breech out to kick a field goal to make it 61-7. What the hell were you thinking, Jim? I mean, going on the field in that situation.
Truthfully, I was kind of embarrassed. I mean, a lot of people were excited about it, wanted to bury Jerry Glanville, but we called timeout to do that too. I'm like, I don't want to be out here. And Brian Blados comes up to me and goes, hey, just watch your back. These guys are pissed. So it was uncomfortable going out. Heck, we were still onside kicking when we were up like 50-something-7. I mean, it was crazy. Sam just loved to bury Jerry Glanville every chance he got. So it was 58 or 61. At that point, did it really matter? I think to Houston, it may have at that time, though they were a little bit upset.
Jamie, I know we have a bunch of questions going through here. Anything else you want to?
Yeah, Jim, you had the video you wanted to play. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, we're gonna play that at the end. I kind of messed that up already, talking about his 9 for 9. So we're gonna close out with that one with Jim.
That's okay. Go ahead, James.
Hey, Jim, can you hear me okay? I know some of our guests have trouble hearing me.
I'm fine.
Okay. We see a lot of these college kickers just kill it in college, get to the NFL and struggle. Obviously, it's kind of like baseball and other professional sports. So much of it is mental. Can you talk about the mental aspect versus the leg of a kicker per se once you get out there on the field?
That's great.
Well, I think at some point in time, you have to consider that you got to make the kicks. And I really think the guys that play a long time are pretty mentally tough. They can work through the misses. And a lot of young guys really struggle with that. And, you know, they go from college where there might be 3 or 4 kickers and have, you know, if they don't make a kick, if they get replaced, and they're still in school, they're still on scholarship potentially. And whereas in the NFL, you miss a kick at the wrong time, you might be unemployed. And since there are only 32 of them, it's sometimes hard to get back in the league. So I think that's the biggest differentiator, because really it's a harder kick for them in college. It's wider hash marks, the same width uprights. So I don't know exactly what it is, but the only thing I can imagine it can be is the mental side of it, which is really at some point when you have a lot of physical gifts and everybody's similar, then it's how well you handle the mental part.
Okay, we got some questions, Jim, from people in the chat, if you don't mind.
not at
Brennan
all.
Greer asks, what's your most memorable kick? If you have one.
There's probably more. I've probably a couple that are very memorable. My first one in the NFL, 38 yards in LA Rams in the LA Coliseum. And I'll tell you, I was so nervous. I'm surprised I got through it. And then probably the most memorable, it was unfortunately it was in a losing cause, was 40-yarder with a little over 3 minutes to go in Super Bowl 23 that put us up by 3. You know, because that's you want to put yourself in the situation in the biggest game when it's really meaningful, and how will you do? And so that to me was the great opportunity to do that. And fortunately, I was able to make it, because I wouldn't have wanted to be Scott Norwood a couple of years later when the Giants and played.
Andrew asks, what do you consider your best year with the Bengals?
Oh, gosh. I mean, probably sometime 87 was pretty good. It's pretty consistent. Most of my misses were blocked. We sometimes struggled with that aspect of it. And probably 91 was going to be. Then I had a late bad game in Pittsburgh that kind of messed up my percentage, but that might have been my most consistent year. So I mean, a few of those. It's interesting. I felt like I got better later on in my career. The more I understood what the heck I was doing, it's really a lot of us were just kind of feeling our way through. We had no clue what was going on. We're just trying to figure it out as you go. Whereas today, everybody's got a training guru, right? And It makes a huge difference. These kids, like my son went into college where I was probably 5 years in the pros, and a lot of kids are coming out of high school where many guys were, you know, well into their pro careers.
Dakota asks, did you have a favorite teammate?
I had a lot of great teammates. Probably Anthony Munoz is one I'm probably closest to, but Lee Johnson, crazy and fun, and Lee and I were real tight. Still talk to Lee occasionally. A lot of good guys. I mean, Max Montoya, Mike Martin, Barney Bussey, Robert Jackson, a lot of guys are still here in the community too. And we get to spend some time with, we get to get together and, talk about old days and, losing Super Bowl. We don't talk about the Super Bowl thing.
Don't talk about the Super Bowl very much. Jim, we want to obviously want to be respectful of your time. We have a couple more questions here if you're okay.
Hey, Jamie.
I'm good,
Jamie, real quick, could you ask John Stain? I'm going to ask this question from the chat area because I think it's a question I didn't even think of. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I was about to. Yeah, go ahead.
John Stain, so what was your best tackle on a kickoff?
It's interesting. I'm trying to think of the best. Let me tell you two. One, we were playing the Steelers, middle of the field, Fulton Walker, who had returned a touchdown in the Super Bowl the previous year. We're literally in the middle of the field. And for a kicker, that's no man's land. You want to be near a sideline. And he tried to put a move on me, and I formed it, and I took him down. I wrapped him up and took him down. And the guys are like, dude, where'd that come from? I kind of felt the same way, but that was probably the best tackle I've made. And then a would-be tackle against UCLA and Bigfoot. Oh man, I can't remember his first name. Brown. Anyway, he played for Kansas City. Had like a size 16 shoe, and he's playing at UCLA, running up the sideline. I got a good angle on him. I hit him about thigh high, and the next thing I know, I'm laying underneath UCLA's bench, watching between guys. There's three guys are just carrying Theo Brown's carrying three guys down the field. It was unbelievable. I didn't feel so bad though that it took three to get him down.
Brendan has a great question here. How do you feel about icing the kickers as a strategy? Does that work?
Well, my thought is I've been standing on the sideline for 3 hours, so is another minute going to make a whole lot of difference? But what it can do is the guys go through the kick. Something may change. The wind may change on you, but typically I don't think it does. But all it has to work is once, right? And everybody's going to do it. And, occasionally it works. Occasionally it backfires where the guy misses and then makes the next one. So, but, if coaches use it wisely, we had a game where late in the game, we called timeout, which was our last timeout to stop them from kicking a 27-yard field goal. We then subsequently drove down, had a big play down from like the 50-yard line down to the 12 with a few seconds to go, but we didn't have a timeout left. So if you use it judiciously, if you use it, wisely, and what's the difference? Why would you want to go into half with it or at the end of a game when it can be meaningless? But it might impact the kicker. I don't know.
One more. Jim, we got one more question and a video. So James,
sure.
James.
Yeah, go ahead. Jim, if you don't mind, we have a question from Sam. What's your best Sam White story you'd like to share?
The question's not from Sam White, just so you know.
No, from Sam.
What's that?
The gentleman that asked the question's name is Sam as well. He's asking what the best Sam White story is you'd like to share.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I like one where it kind of told us as a team what Sam was about. So Sam was all over the place at times, and but a big topic for him was the media. Because if we were down a little bit, we took a pounding, whether it be the newspapers, radio, or TV. Fortunately for us at the time, there wasn't social media. So he comes in, he goes, Can you believe what these guys are writing about us? Can you believe what they're saying on TV, on the radio? And we're all looking, we're kind of looking at him, and yeah, I know, we've heard that, coach. He goes, do me a favor. Don't read the newspaper. Don't watch TV. Don't listen to the radio. Forget it. This is all about us. We're right in here, right at Spinney Field. Okay. So we come back. That was Monday. We come back on Wednesday. He walks in. He slams the newspaper down the desk. He says, can you believe what they're writing about us? Can you believe the things they're saying on radio, on TV? And one of the guys says, well, no, coach, because you told us not to be involved with any of those things.
That's great. That's good stuff. I'm sure you have a bunch of stories you could share, and a bunch of stories you probably can't share on social media right now. But so, Jim, we're going to be respectful of your time, but I do want to kind of end. I think this might be the game you talked about earlier. So this is 1990. You guys are playing the Rams in the Coliseum, and you guys won this game in overtime. So, Jamie, if you could kick this video off.
Yes, sir. Here we go.
For the win, Cincinnati's Breech, 44-yard kick. He's done it. The Bengals and over.
Was that the game you were talking about, or was it earlier in the 80s?
That I kind of lost you there for a second, but that was 1990. Say it again. I lost you.
Was that the game you were talking about, or was that early 80s?
No, the first game, the first Ram game was my first game I played. That was September of 1979.
Okay.
So this is many years later.
Well,
but it was against the Rams again. Right?
That's right. I was like, oh man, there's no way that was in the 90s. It had to be earlier. But perfect 9 for 9 in overtime, a Bengal record, an NFL record. Jim Breech, we appreciate you coming on, man. You're a Bengal legend, and you're loved in the city, man. We love having you in town, man. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for putting this on, and also pretty excited after the draft and the free agency. It should be a fun time. Hopefully get this thing rolling soon.
I'm a Bengals fan. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate your time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Wow, that was
fine.
Hey, man, 2 Bengals legends, boys. That was fun.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean,
Jimmy, just so you know, Jimmy, your audio, I think, is going a little funny. You might want to just get out and rejoin again just to get a new connection, just to make sure. Because we had a couple of times it was hiccuping. Just want to make sure people can hear you going forward. That's all.
Can you hear me clearly right now?
No, it's still choppy. Yeah. Just if you go out, come back in.
Get back in.
Yeah, we'll hang here. We'll hold it down when you get back.
Go ahead and get Tom Justin on if you're okay with that, the fan of the week.
Yep, okay. So Tom's not here yet, but James, that was pretty cool talking to.
You know what? I think the mental aspect of being a professional is so important. When somebody gets to the level of professional football, professional baseball, they have the talent. That the next question I think is, do they put the effort in off the field? Are they out partying every night? How serious are they taking it? But then that mental aspect is huge, and I think you probably times that by another 5 or so, being a kicker, because let's be honest, a lot of these games come down to simply the extra point, which the NFL moved back a couple of years ago. We saw some games that we've lost. I can remember a Pittsburgh game. What was it? Early 2010, we had a chance to win it. Unfortunately, Shane Graham missed a field goal that would have put us into the playoffs. So, I mean, kicker is, I think they're often second thoughts. We see them drafted late in the draft, but it's a crucial position. And what Jim did for his longevity of his career, 9 for 9 in overtime, that really says something about him.
So, Jim, I want to try one more time. Is my video and my audio?
We hear you fine now. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jimmy.
Let's go ahead and go with let's do the Bengals history 101. Let's kind of go to that segment at this point.
Sure. Do you want to run the video first, and we'll come back and have you chat?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead. I tell you what. Go ahead and actually let me set this up. So again, like we talked last week, guys, on our first show. Just there's a lot of folks out here that haven't been Bengals fans as long as some of us, right? And they just don't know the true Bengal history, and there's a ton of it, right? So in 1981, let's talk about the Super Bowl season. In 1981, Week 1, Kenny Anderson was having a dreadful game to start that game against Seattle opening day here in the old Riverfront Stadium. Bengals are down 21-0 in the first quarter. Forrest Gregg just comes up and benches Kenny, and Turk Schonert comes in and wins the game. We win the game. We beat Seattle. We came back from a 21-0 deficit. We win the game. We start the season 1-0. So at that point, Kenny Anderson was in the league 10 years. He was drafted in 71. Most everybody in Cincinnati at that point was like, Kenny's done. He's been in the league for 10 years. He's too old. Let's go with a young, vibrant, strong-arm Turk Schonert moving forward. And Forrest Gregg was catching a lot of grief for this. So that sets up game 2 against the Jets here, and that's the video clip we're going to show here right now.
Okay, here we go.
On paper, the New York Jets appear to have enough talent to make the playoffs. In the standings, they're now 0-2. Last week, they jumped out to a 2-touchdown lead over Cincinnati. But to borrow an old expression, these 81 Bengals are a new breed of cat. For the second straight week, the guys in the Easter Sunday bonnets fell behind early, then rallied to win. The go-ahead score came late in period 4 on this touchdown by Archie Griffin, and it gave Cincinnati a 1-point lead. Less than a minute later, a New York fumble ensured the Bengals a victory. Number 72, Mike St. Clair's 12-yard jaunt increased the Bengal lead to 8. And though the Jets did rally for a last-second touchdown, it was academic, as Cincinnati recorded its second consecutive come-from-behind win. Who knows? Perhaps they'll become the new Cardiac Kids.
So that game, the Bengals come back second week in a row, beat the Jets being down, win the game 31-30. So you have to understand Forrest Gregg was the head coach at the time, and Forrest Gregg was catching all kinds of grief from the media here in Cincinnati, talking about he should have benched Kenny Anderson. Just what if Forrest Gregg decides to go with a young Turk Schonert and not Ken Anderson? He went with his gut, went with Ken Anderson. Ken Anderson had a hell of a game that day, wound up being the MVP in 1981. They win the division, the AFC conference, and they go to the championship. They go to the Super Bowl. So just one of those great what ifs in Bengal history. If Forrest Gregg wouldn't have went with Ken Anderson, because there was all kinds of pressure in the city for him to go with Turk Schonert, because Ken Anderson was done, according to everybody. And Kenny stepped up and had his best season ever as a pro.
There we go. I think Jimmy, I got to tell you, man, the Bengals history segment is probably one of my favorite segments of this thing. And people in the chat room are agreeing. Kim and Ron are saying, thanks so much for this. Very interesting to listen to legends players, hear the history of the team. Stephen Nagel says, love this history section. Great job. We got a couple MVP cheers for Kenny. Bengal Bomb Squad West 1981 MVP Kenny. So there we go.
Yeah, cool stuff. I mean, again, a lot of people know this, but you'd be surprised. The younger generation, they're looking at, they started with the Chad Johnsons of the world, right? And kind of their history starts there. But there's all kinds of stuff. So Tom, our fan of the week, is trying to dial in right now.
Yeah, he was just there. He just disconnected for a minute, but I think he'll be right back because he was just connected.
One interesting tidbit of that, they failed to mention the cardiac cats. I think they used a different term there, but we saw that some in lately in the playoff run with Marvin for those 5 years and in a row that we went to the playoffs. The cardiac cats term used quite a bit, but back there in early 1980s, that terminology wasn't around then.
Yep.
All right, Jimmy, we got your fan of the week is ready to come on. You want to do an intro?
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Tom Justin, how you doing, buddy?
Jimmy, how are you? How you doing, guys?
Man, life is good, brother. Life is good. So everybody, this is Tom Justin. This guy is partially responsible for getting me hooked on the Bengal history like I am right now. So he is probably the biggest historian I know as a Bengal fan. He's awesome. He hasn't missed a game since 1978 in that stadium. His knowledge of Bengal history is bar none. He's the best. So Tom,
hey, Jimmy, one little thing to add to that. Turk Schonert was named starting quarterback right after the game in the locker room with the emotion. Forrest Gregg said he would start against the Jets the next week, and everything was fine. And they came in for Monday films, and Paul Brown asked to see him, and he didn't order him. He just told him to not give into emotion, but to really think about who could take the team the furthest that year, to consider it, and then go ahead. Now, maybe Forrest felt, what Paul Brown was hinting at, or he did think it over, but he went ahead and put Kenny back in. So, for about 18 hours, Turk Schonert was supposed to start against the Jets.
That's awesome. That's something. I told you, this is my guy right here. I love it. So Tom, talk about. I want your most memorable game you've ever been to, but you haven't missed a home game since '78. Talk a little bit about
it. Anytime they win is it's so incredible. I would probably package that '88 season together. I don't think this region has had as enthusiastic a run during that '88 season, and that's with all respect to all other teams, and they certainly deserve it. But just that whole season from week one, which I think you just played yesterday, all the way through that AFC Championship game, and then the long ride to Miami and the even longer ride home, unfortunately. But really, that whole season was nothing but either you were thrilled leaving Riverfront because of the performance or the excitement of the game.
Yep. So give us another memorable game in the 70s. You were a little guy back then, but I know you remember every bit of every game of every snap.
There was well, again, the first one I can remember clearly was the home opener in '74, I think it was, and I can remember sitting with my dad up in the red seats, and the Bengals just absolutely annihilated the Cleveland Browns. But I mean, it was just the difference in the crowd, the enthusiasm, the intensity, everything that went with it. Probably the '77 game where they beat the Steelers was another great one. Pat McInally caught, I think, like a 47-yard touchdown in the second half to win the game. That was really memorable in the '70s. And actually, one of the bad teams in 1980, they upset. I think they even swept the Steelers that year.
They did.
That was a fantastic game, and that particular year, our season tickets were in the red, right in the middle of the section for the visiting fans. So, fortunately, back then, Steelers fans were a little bit better, than they are now. They walked on two legs and used utensils when they ate and all that kind of stuff. It's nothing like you see.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
So Tom, you go to games where you're like it's a family affair for you on game day, right?
It is. My son goes just like I used to go with my dad. And then unfortunately my dad died in the mid '80s, but now my son gets to go, but everybody else is extended. One of the gentlemen that went with me, a very close friend, he passed away last year, but his son started going. Paul Clark was his name. His son, Matt, who was one of the top high school football players in the city and also starred at Thomas More. He picked up the slack. He goes down with his wife, and in a few years, his son will be joining us. And then a couple of my closest, dearest friends have gone. And no, it's a family affair. Just like you, it starts very early and ends very late. And whether we're gnashing our teeth and crying as we leave, or smiling till next Thursday or Friday. I mean, it's what we all look forward to.
Yeah, I know we have a question from our chat followers right now. Jamie, you want to go throw out one of those questions? We'll do one question and then we'll close.
You want to just do one question? Okay.
Yeah.
Josh is asking, did you go to either of the Super Bowls?
I did. I went to the Super Bowl in Miami. Did not win the ticket lottery, and scalped a ticket from a guy, scalped a single ticket. The people that sat right behind us did win the season. They did win the lottery, and we're going down. And there were 6 of us jammed into an Oldsmobile. We left from Clifton Friday at 4:00. No hotel. Only 3 of us had tickets. We drove straight through, and when we got about 90 minutes north of Miami, we just started checking for hotels and got in there. My seat was right at about the 20-yard line, right where Stanford Jennings would have hit the wedge. And I was looking down on it, figuring, he was going to hit, fall forward for about 2 yards and go down, but he popped through. And, Jimmy, you asked about my favorite game. I know that was the most exciting, 10, 15 seconds of being a Bengal fan.
Yep. Well, Tom, I mean, I just want to close with this. I mean, thanks for being with us. It means a lot. And guys, we always see on TV, during games, the guy wearing a stupid bucket hat, maybe, or a face painted guy. I'm telling you, there are thousands of people like Tom Justin here that are diehard fans that don't get the recognition that some of the other fans get. And Tom, you mean a lot to this city with your fandom. I've known you for many, many years, and it's I was very excited about getting you on. I wanted other people to hear you, and I think somebody, Jungle Joe said
Right here.
put that up there. I don't know if you, can you see that, Tom?
Yes, I can.
Not a question, but I could sit and listen to Tom talk Bengals and pound some coldies, which I think can happen at the tailgates, I believe.
That's right.
That's a very real possibility.
Here's a quick
Jimmy,
question.
before you go, though, Jimmy, one thing, about 10, 15 years ago, the NFL had a commercial on, and they featured the Browns, but it showed them fumbling and getting sacked and throwing interceptions, and nothing's changed. But at the end of it, it does show them scoring a touchdown. And it says, why are you a fan? And he says, you endure all that because finally, when Lady Luck changes and goes your way and you win that championship, you can say, and I was there the whole time. So, I sometimes joke and feel like I'm Davy Crockett at the Alamo, but no, hang in there with there's no question. The franchise is pointed in the right direction. They've got the right guys. They've got the right quarterback. I don't think it's a finished product yet, but I think we're going to feel really good about watching them this year.
Yep. Tom, we appreciate you coming on, buddy. Tell the family we said hey and hooday, buddy.
Jimmy, take care of that family. Stay safe, guys.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Cheers.
Thanks for your time.
That's freaking awesome. So I've known Tom for many, many years. When I ran the fan club back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a small group of us that kind of ran that. And Tom was one of the guys on board with me on that. He was just he's just an awesome guy. And those are the guys you don't hear about. Those diehard fans. You always see the guys painted faces and all the other stuff, but those are the guys. That's awesome stuff to see. So. James, where are we at now? I'm sorry. I know we had a few more things to hit on before we get out of here.
Yeah, we have
the question of the week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead. Pop that up, Danny.
Are you sure? Okay, here we go, guys. Question of the week. What will the Bengals record be this season? I'm going to throw the schedule up here, guys, while we have the question up. Feel free to put your predictions in the chat, and we'll throw some up on the screen. James, let's start with you, buddy. What is your bold prediction for the 2020-2021 season?
The one thing I want to start with is I'm just excited for the second home opener in the last 8 years or whatever it is. Man, it seems like forever. We always start on the road. So certainly excited to see Joe Burrow kick off the regime at QB at home week 1 versus the Chargers and have a nice warm weather tailgate. We kicked off last year with 49ers in week 2 with Kenny Anderson, which was a lot of fun, and certainly excited to kick off the 2020 season at home for only the second time in 9 years. With that being said, if we get to 500, I'll be happy. I was a rarity last year with, not expecting much with Zach coming in, getting a late start. I was fine with a high draft pick. But this year I'm excited. I think, 8-8, I'm happy with that. And certainly we could do better. I think that the schedule plays out favorably for us, despite the early season road games. I like having the Thursday night game. First of all, close. So it's a quick trip up to Cleveland, but it's not towards the end of the season when we're going to be wore out playing on 4 days rest. So 8-8's my prediction, and I look forward to a fun year. Jimmy, I'll let you go next.
16-0. Look, so I'm going into every game. I'm going into every game with a win. But realistically, we got a rookie quarterback. Half this team's going to be new. Starting lineup's going to be new. Literally half the team. We've upgraded, I think, most every position we needed to upgrade. There's going to be some growing pains this year. I'm still going to be optimistic. I still think my prediction is going to be a 10-6. Everything goes the way we need it to go. Everything drops. All the suns and moons and stars align correctly, and we go 10-6. And we get better as it gets later in the year. We keep getting better as the year goes on.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in between both of you guys in a way. I mean, my prediction is 10-6 as well. I'm also in the same boat as James, though. I'm happy with the 500 season. I mean, we came off 2 wins last year. Anything's going to be better than 2 wins, as far as I'm concerned. A couple of things to consider, guys. I've been reading on the draft party. We had Paul Dehner Jr. from The Athletic on. He put an article out today that was talking about, there's potentially a possibility of a delay in the season. Starting, and the NFL, one of the contingency plans to take the first 4 weeks and move those to the end of the schedule. And if you look at the schedule, there's 4 very winnable games that could happen at the end of the year. That could really change the shape of how this goes. Obviously that would mean Joe Burrow comes in his first start week 5 against the Ravens. That's going to be a tough one. But then you go Colts, you go Browns, you go Titans. I think by the time Joe gets his footing, if you front load those first 4 weeks on the back ends, it could be a really exciting finish to the season. So I'm going to go 10-6. But I'm the same, man. I mean, I attend every game I can, obviously coming down from Canada, but also watching every game. I go in expecting to win every week. Doesn't matter who we're playing. Let's bring up we have a lot of comments in the chat, so let's acknowledge some of these guys. Kyle Parker says 9-7. Dakota 7-9. Sam 7-9. Bengal Bomb Squad West agrees with you, James, with a 500 record 8-8. Vinny, I'm liking Vinny here. Vinny Guzman III says 12-4.
I see you, Vinny.
Josh 9-7. Jack says 10-6.
Jack's a smart guy.
No less than 7-9 from Kyle. Steven Nagel 11-5. Fred 9-8. Chuck Wood says 12-4. John Paul Blankenship, he wants to be more optimistic, says 7-9, but I want to say more. We got some 500s in here. Chris says 8-8. Brendan says 8-8, but anything can happen with Joe. And again, I mean, he's right. Brendan's right. Anything can happen with Joe Burrow. This is a game-changing quarterback that we have under the helm now. So that's exciting.
It's definitely a new season for sure. We see a lot of that around 8-8, 9-7, which I think is very realistic. The other thing to touch on talking about this schedule is 2 primetime games. I mentioned earlier, last year we didn't have a Thursday night game. One of 2 teams, I think, not to have a Thursday night game. We do have that early. It is on the road. As I said, get that out of the way early, and then home primetime against the Steelers. Hopefully we can change that narrative now with Joe at the helm and win those primetime games when we have the national spotlight on us. So excited about those 2 and getting back to a great season for sure.
Paul says 5-11, maybe 6-10. Rookie quarterback, second-year head coach. This is interesting. I was talking about how the schedule may get pushed back those first 4 weeks, and John raises a good point. I'd prefer Carson Wentz later when he's more likely to be hurt. Not wishing, of course, but Wentz has not finished the season. Hey, right. He hasn't played a full season, right? So if you move that Philly game to the last 4 weeks of schedule, there's a very real possibility you're facing Tyrod Taylor or your rookie quarterback Herbert in against the Chargers. You got the Browns, which, I mean, come on, guys, we know what's going to happen with the Browns. You got whoever the backup quarterback's going to be by that time in Philadelphia, and then, I mean, the Jaguars. Who knows?
And just imagine if they do that, which I'm still optimistic that this thing's going to start on time, things start getting better. But if they push those games back to the end of the year, we're going to have some cold ass games, guys. There's going to be some snow and some cold games if they push these, to the end of the year. But I'm okay with it. I'm just thinking being in Philly that late in the year could be. I want to go to that Philly game. So the road trips, we're talking about going on. I don't want to be in Philly in like January.
Well, we've already planned. As you guys know, I was a season ticket holder the last 3 seasons. I unfortunately had to give up my season tickets just as we get Joe Burrow. Just because of my business commitments up here. But we are coming down for the week 1, going to stay in Cincinnati for the week, and then head to Cleveland for week 2. So my fingers crossed. As much as I like that weaker schedule at the end, man, I want some football September 13th, guys.
South Beach in December is always a good time too. I think
we're going to that one too. Yeah.
Plan on doing that one, so that's a fun one to look forward to. I had the opportunity to go to the last game against the Eagles in Philly. I think that was one of Andy Reid's last games. It was December of 2011. I think we played Thursday night in Philly and won, and Andy Reid basically got booed out of the stadium. We know what happened with them bringing Doug Peterson in, winning a Super Bowl, and Andy Reid just wins one and with the Chiefs. So certainly it's a lot different Eagles organization, 8 years later, going back into Lincoln Field in week 3. Carson Wentz was probably a freshman in high school and North Dakota at that time, but certainly a lot of cool things to look forward to with the schedule. Chris in the chat has a good point. Will fans be in the stands? Who knows? I think we're all optimistic. We all want to be there. We want to cheer on the team. We want to tailgate. We want to see our friends that we see 8 times a year outside Paul Brown Stadium. So I'm going to stay optimistic, think things are going to work out. Hope everybody's staying safe. Different guidelines in different states, depending on where you are. Hopefully we'll get this thing figured out and all be back together in, late August, early September, and watching Joe Burrow lead a new Bengals team into a lot of success.
Well, that's the one thing I'll say about the whole thing with the COVID-19. It literally is changing hour by hour. So I'm not going to give up hope. Be optimistic, guys. Before we sign off here, I want to, because we do have some visiting fans as well that watch this program. How is it there? Are the fans rough? Josh is asking. Are the fans rough? The visiting fans. My experience coming down to the games, I've gone to games at several stadiums. I found the crowd at Cincinnati to be very respectful of fans. What do you guys think?
I think he might be talking about Josh attends games here in Cincinnati.
Oh, okay, fair.
So he might be talking about when we were talking about Philly, maybe.
Philly, yeah, that's a different story.
I had somebody mention that to me before. When we went, like I said, they were down. I think a lot of it depends on how the team's doing. Philly obviously has a reputation for being rough, but they were cordial. We had a great time tailgating in the parking lot. And I think when you go into any stadium, I think if you're respectful, don't act like a jerk. They're going to treat you with the same respect. Certainly, there's some places out there that won't happen. But in Philly 8 years ago, it was zero problems. Had a good time. Had a great cheesesteak in the stadium. We went to Gino's before. So that's part of the fun of going to the road trips is checking out the cities and the atmosphere and the destination places to see.
Sorry, Josh, that's on me, brother. We had a couple of fans last week from visiting teams asking questions, so I might have jumped the gun on that one. Sorry, brother.
No worries there. Really safe.
Well, guys, we've come to the end of the show. Went a little bit over. Sorry about that, but hey, we hope you enjoyed it. So we really hope you felt like you were engaged and interacting with Jeff and Jim during the trip, and Tom as well, fan of the week. We are asking you guys to send us some direct messages, whether it be through Twitter, Facebook messaging, however you want to communicate to us. We're always looking for feedback, any ideas, maybe something we should maybe expand more on, or maybe something we should drop. This is for you guys. We're fans doing this. This is by the fans, for the fans. So we want to make sure we keep doing this. We're having fun with it. As long as we keep getting this type of engagement, we're going to continue to do this on a weekly basis. And guys, we have some great things lined up next week. I wish I could tell you for sure what they are, but we're still kind of finalizing a few things. Some pretty cool stuff going on. We appreciate everybody being here. Happy Mother's Day. Be safe. Do all the right things with social distancing. So if we do our part, maybe we can get this damn season started on time this year, get together, tailgate, and go into the games without any issues. So we appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, and Hoo-Day. Have a great week.
Happy Mother's Day.
Hoo-Day. Happy Mother's Day. Hoo-Day, guys. Cheers. See you next Sunday.